chicka wow wow. Hi guys, it's Sophia and welcome back to another episode of Styles After Dark. What up my stylers? As you guys know, happy Wednesday. It's a magnificent Wednesday. Today is Sunday, but it's okay because you guys are going to listen to this hopefully on a Wednesday. If y'all support me, y'all support me. Today's episode, my little stylers, is going to be self love. Y'all, I'm so excited for this episode. I went through my self love journey almost a year and a half ago. And believe it or not, 22 years of my life, I lived with very low self love. I didn't really ever understand that concept. I didn't really, it just didn't click. So I'm very passionate about this topic and I want to dive into that today to give you guys insight and anyone who might be in the position that I was in or starting their self love healing journey. Maybe they've lost it throughout the way. Maybe they've lost a little bit of self love because life happens, and that's okay. But before we get started, I want to show you guys the drink of the week. Today we have Poppy. I think I'm just gonna run through Poppy a little bit. I don't know, we'll see. I'm Yeah, we have Poppy again today for drink of the week, and it is in flavor grape. And no, this is not a paid advertisement or anything like that. But I'm gonna try it. So let's open this bad boy up. I'm excited. I don't know why. I went to the store and I was like, grape is one of those nasty. I like grapes, don't get me wrong, but grapes just never seem that appetizing in flavors like gummy bear, like gummies, fruit gummies, things like that. But today, girl, I looked at the flavors and I was like, why am I feeling a little grape moment? And it was cute. It was purple. And I was like, for show, for show, for show. Let's try it. Let's taste it. This is good. Ooh, I like this. I like this a lot. I kind of want to drink that with like a peanut butter jelly sandwich and like some potato chips on the side. For I'm a hoe for a sandwich and chips. Outfit of the day. I'm in all white. I want this episode to be very inspiring for anyone who can relate. For anyone who needs to hear this episode, I hope that you really take away from this today. And so I wanted the theme to just feel bright. And I was feeling like, you know what? All white is giving. It's giving bright. It's giving love. It's giving self love. Let's do it. And side note, for anyone who entered any questions on advice on this topic, those always get answered at the end of the video. So stay tuned. Today, you guys are going to get to know me a little bit. I'm going to open up a little bit about Sophia, me, my childhood, how I was raised, and how that affected my self love growing up. I think I want to open up about that and share that with you guys because I feel like self love and the reason we don't have it sometimes with ourselves comes from a very young age. People grow up in households where that's not taught. And I have a lot of friends, I know a lot of people whose parents did teach them that and whose parents did shove it in their head like love yourself, be confident, and those people grew up a lot more secure. Me, not so much. And that is not at all to shame my parents. I love my parents so much. So before I even dive into any of that, I do want to say that my parents had me at a very young age. My parents had me at 16, and because of that, they were growing and learning while raising me, and that's okay. And parents aren't perfect. Parents are human at the end of the day. A year and a half ago when I started my self-love journey, I had hit rock bottom. I decided that it was time to love myself, especially when I started this journey. I had people in my life and I was in a relationship and I had friendships that weren't necessarily good for me. Because of where I am now, I'm able to see and look back that I was really insecure for a long time. And the choices I was making and the people I had in my life and the boyfriends and the boys I was choosing were out of not having self respect and self love. And it stems early on from our childhood. And something that happened to us that was traumatic or trauma that we have not healed from, trauma that we need to open up to and be self-aware, and sometimes that doesn't happen until you hit rock bottom, which essentially happened to me. I think a lot of the change started happening when my toxic 6-year relationship ended. It was an on and off relationship and it was not healthy whatsoever. I know so many people who don't realize this, and I didn't realize it either. But once you're out of it, you really realize it was always a lack of caring for yourself, loving yourself, and no shade to that person. I will always have love for them. There's no beef or anything like that. But this is just my journey and this is the truth. And I also want to say, even though I have came a long way from this, I still am not perfect. I'm not. I love myself, but I have my bad days. And I hope you know that it's okay to have your bad days. No one is fully healed. And if you are, great for you. But like, I'm not. And I never want to preach on this podcast, on this channel, that I have it all figured out and I wake up and don't have any bad days, and I don't want to pretend like I'm this perfect person because I'm not, and I'm far from perfect. And there's days where it's harder to love myself, and be gentle with yourself. A part of loving yourself and a big part of self-love is being gentle and having grace. Once this relationship had ended, that I had nothing left, I was scared to be alone. And I was scared to probably face my biggest fears, my biggest issues, because when something like that is taken away from you, when you are in a relationship for 6 years and you depend on that person for everything, your emotional, mental being. And once I lost that, I like went insane. But I had no choice but to look inwards. I had no choice but to look at myself in the mirror and see that it's time to change. It's time to do things differently. And, this is where my faith really started to take a big turn, because I was so alone. And obviously, I was so alone without that person in my life. And at the time, because I was at rock bottom, I was like, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to love myself? I don't even know what self love is. If you feel like you don't know where to start, that is completely okay. I didn't know where to start. I had to ask my friend Tony. Shout out to my friend Tony. I want to give him a big thank you for being there for me. Not a lot of people wanted to be around the person who was very depressed, very low, and trying to figure their stuff out. Not everyone's going to be able to handle your emotions, and not everyone's going to be able to be there for your journey. And my friend Tony, I've known him for a huge long time. In the beginning of this, he had helped me. And if you can just have one person who will listen to you and just be there for you and be a good friend, find that person. Hopefully, you have someone in your life that can help in that way. I remember calling him one day and he knew I was going through this breakup, and he was just being a good friend, wanting the best for me, wanting to be like, hey, like, you're going to be okay. You are going to be okay. Get your head out of your ass. You're going to get through this. And I remember asking him, what is self-love? Like, how do I love myself? I don't know how. Like, what is that? I get it. I understand. I know self-love is loving yourself, obviously, and like, just like love yourself, but like I don't have that for myself, so I don't know what that looks like and how do I get there. Self-love is choosing you, putting yourself first, doing things that make you happy making sure that you are happy, that you are prioritizing yourself, that you are taking care of yourself and loving yourself. And sometimes I feel like we think we love ourselves, but we still are making choices that show otherwise and tell otherwise. People, I truly believe, and some people might not like this because there's a lot of people still going through old patterns, going back to their toxic boyfriend. And I have grace for you. And I am not shading anyone. But if I'm being honest, you do not love yourself if you continue to be with someone who hurts you. If you continue to be with someone who cheats on you, if you continue to be with someone who emotionally, verbally, physically abuses you, we have to let those things go so we can truly start to take care of ourselves and love ourselves. Self love is having respect and having boundaries for yourself. And when you don't have any of that and you just let people disrespect you and you just let people cross your boundaries, you start to lose a lot of yourself. Self love is being kind to yourself, talking kindly to yourself, and treating yourself like you treat other people that you love. If you are in a relationship and you clearly love someone, you treat them with love and you don't want to hurt them. And so you should be doing the same thing with yourself. So I feel like a lot of the times, especially I'm guilty of this too, I will talk negatively in my head and I'll say like, "Oh, like I'm not good at this," or "Oh, I don't like how this looks." Or dang it, like my makeup doesn't look that good. I'm not looking good today. And those thoughts, those words are not good. And we have to work on not doing that. When you're starting this self love healing journey, it is so important to focus on your thoughts. Make sure that you're implementing those boundaries. Like, why was that so hard? Because I personally, and maybe you have too, I was raised in a household where boundaries weren't a thing. My family is Mexican and we do not have boundaries. And I notice it more and more, if you come from a slightly toxic household, again, I love my family, I really do. That is not a thing and sometimes and there's a lot of things that will play into your adult life and play a huge role into the things you think are normal, but then you realize that it's not. I started therapy right away because y'all, I was in the trenches. I really was. I 100% recommend therapy. Therapy has changed my life and I've had clients go to my therapist and I've had clients, you know, whose life it has changed. When you don't know where to start and you don't have guidance, it's okay to look for that. It's okay to be vulnerable and be like, hey, I can't do this on my own. Sometimes you can't, and that's okay. And to be able to own up to that is so powerful in itself. And I want you to know that when you start a little bit of this self love healing journey, it is going to be painful. This was a painful process, but you have to be open to that process. And I feel like a lot of people cannot do that. You'd be surprised how many people don't want to go through that self love healing process because they don't want to accept the truth about other people and themselves. If you hit a point and you become aware that you are in a stage of having low self love, you're going to have to dig deep and realize, how did this happen? What about myself brought me here? What is playing into this? Is it a relationship? Is it the way I talk to myself? Could it be that I'm not happy with who I've become? Are you being mean to people? Are you not the best version of yourself? Are you doing things that aren't healthy for you? You have to come face first with that. And that is honestly one of the hardest things to do. I had to accept I had been treating myself poorly for so long because I was putting up with shitty people. That's what it was. I was putting up with so much crap and letting myself deal with it for years and years, talking so negatively of myself. And I had to understand that even though I had a lot going for myself, even if you gym, even if you have nice clothes and you make so much money and blah 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 and you look pretty, I don't care who you are. That does not mean you have self-love. Like, that does not determine your worth. A lot of new people in my life that are just amazing, when they had met me in this stage of my life, I remember sitting with my friends at like pho, and these are two newer friends of mine, and we were all just eating and we were talking about things that, like, we're not the best at, or like our strengths and weaknesses. I remember opening up to my friends and being like, I'm actually like really not that confident. Like, that's my biggest weakness, is I am really insecure. They looked at me and they were like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, like I battle with that. And they were like, wait, but that's so weird. Like, you come off so confident and you really look like you have it all together. Like, I'm shocked. And I was like, yeah, no. I actually am always in my head. Like, I would always be in my head, and I still am. Some things never change. Back to my point, you are not perfect and you have crap about you that you probably don't want to come face to face, but I'm telling you, doing that is power. Being able to know your weaknesses and being able to see where you lack is a powerful thing, because a lot of people cannot do that. And so, if you're trying to become a better person, if you're trying to love yourself more, and you're going through this process of like, you know what? I don't like this about myself. I don't like this. And this, I want to change it because it's affecting me and it's affecting how I see myself. They say healing is not linear. It's true. We have to start learning that just because you have a bad day doesn't mean it's like a bad life. It doesn't mean that you don't love yourself. It means that that is normal. It is life. It's human nature. And we just need to have grace in those moments. Be gentle. And when I was going through this process, I remember being like, ugh, like, why do I still not love myself? It was like 2 months into therapy, 2 months into starting to be aware of like what I didn't like about myself and stuff. And I remember just being like, ew, like, why did I let this happen? Why did I let that person treat me? And it's like, we don't want to go backwards. We have to keep moving forward. I just want to have like a little quote moment. I was writing some things down while I was putting my notes for this episode. And I want to talk about how the best decisions for yourself are the hard decisions. Good things in life do not come easy. I was posting on my TikToks my self love, like, oh, like taking myself out to eat, doing these things to like love myself, blah, blah, blah. And from the outside looking in, it looks cute. So your self-love journey looks like, oh my God, like, look at that. Like, you're working out and you're taking care of yourself and you're looking better, buying new clothes, hanging out with new people. It seems like everything's going so much better, but sometimes it's not. No one's seeing the people that you have to cut off. No one is seeing the part where feels so low and you're in your bed crying because you're alone, and the pain, like, you are actually healing yourself. And I want to talk about these specific things because I feel like people start giving up, and then people start going to their old patterns in this process. It's so easy. Like, I see it all the time. Like, some of my friends, they like become aware of it, and then they start working on themselves and they start doing all these good things for themselves. Something happens and they just go right back to square one. They go back to the boy, stop taking care of themselves. I'm like, no, 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 we have to keep going forward. For example, let's talk about some of the things that was stopping me from having self-love. Comparing myself and stalking other people. We need to stop doing that. Can we stop doing that? Please? I no longer do that. I can't. I refuse to. I've actually made promise to myself in my journal that I journal in that I will not stalk people that will make me feel bad about myself, because we're ultimately hurting ourselves. And somewhere deep down inside, that girl that you're looking at comparing yourself to, it is so detrimental, because the reason you're doing that is because you think in your head that she has something better or she has something you don't. Every time you do that, you're harming yourself, which is the opposite of loving yourself. So there's going to be things like that where we have to cut that out for our own sake. I literally like signed something in my journal. I put like an X and I was like, I vow to not do this. I vow this. I vow to myself this. I vow to myself that I will not do this, because I was sick of doing it to myself. I was sick of making myself feel bad about myself, because you're doing it to yourself. Self love is being kinder to you. Always think about the little girl. I have this picture. My grandma finally gave it to me after so many years. Typically have this on my desk. And yes, it's cheesy. I'm sorry. I don't care. But it's a reminder that whenever I say something not good to myself, whenever I start talking down on myself or I catch myself doing that, I just look at that photo. Would you ever talk to your little self like that? You get to a point where it's so normalized, like you don't even realize how many times a day you go having negative thoughts about yourself. Let's dive into how we're going to stop these behaviors and how we're going to start growing in our self-love healing journey and the actions that we're going to take to make that happen. One of the things I did, and that my therapist suggested I do, I wrote a list of things that I admired of other people, because at the time I didn't love myself. So it was easier to be like, okay, well, these are the qualities that I feel like other people have and that I love about other people, but I don't think at this current point in time I have them. I want to be kind. I want to be more gentle. I want to treat my friends with respect. Someone who takes care of themselves and goes to the gym and wakes up early and do all those things, because I love those things about other people, but I necessarily don't do them for myself. So once you write that list, how do you keep up with it? Keeping promises to yourself really determines the outcome and the confidence of this journey. You build trust within yourself and you build confidence within yourself by doing the things you say you're going to do. I can't be the only one who's guilty. I will say I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m., go to the gym, or before bed, you kind of say, like, oh, I'm going to wake up and make breakfast, or, this week I want to read this much of that book, or this week I want to go to the gym 5 times. And then you wake up and you hit snooze on the alarm button, put off the gym that day. But you said you were going to do that. So when you don't do that, you decrease your self-worth. You are showing your brain, you're showing yourself that you cannot trust yourself. That's how you build trust. That's how you build confidence. And the more you trust yourself, the more confident you are. And the more you do things that you say you're going to do and that clearly you want to do, because you wouldn't have the thought in the first place. You wouldn't be saying, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this promise to myself. And once you have that confidence and that trust, you're building that self love. You have to look at things like, if you tell someone you're going to do something and then you don't do it, they start to lose trust in you. I also started to prioritize being alone, a season of getting comfortable and learning about ourselves. We can't do that with all the distractions. We can't do that if we're partying, clubbing, and with our bestie all the time, or drinking and blacking out every weekend. Like, how are you getting to know yourself? I started to go out to eat by myself, and everyone would think I was crazy. I'm like, yeah, why? How can you not go out to eat by yourself? Like, what? Go take yourself out on a date. You're telling me you can't do that? Like, if you have social anxiety, okay, I get it. But if it's because you're worried about what other people are gonna think, no. Like, no, we don't care. My aunt and uncle, actually, they are everything I aspire to be when it comes to parenting. I remember I was at my aunt's house. My uncle and my little niece had just came back from a date. And I was like, "Oh." I was like, "What do you mean?" And they specifically call it a date. They're like, "Yeah, like daddy's gonna go take you on a date. He will take the girls out or one of the daughters out, go see a movie, go get them food to show them they should be taken out. They should be treated nicely and have things done for them." They're building my little nieces for the future. They're building them to know like this is how a man should treat you. This is how you should treat yourself. They implement such good things. And I don't know, I just had to share that real quick. Honestly, one of the biggest things that played into my self love, and I will always say it, is God. God wants us to be happy. God wants to take our worries and our fears and our insecurities and our anxieties away. And when you follow God, God will remove the people that are stopping you from doing that. And God will bring everything that's meant for you and bring the happiness. And when you follow God and when you follow Jesus, you will feel so much more whole and you will feel accepted and you will feel enough. And I just want to share that quickly, that that is also such a big part of my self-love healing journey. I feel like conviction when I don't talk highly of myself because I know that God does not want that. God does not want me to feel poorly about myself. God does not want me to be with someone who's going to hurt me. And just know that the devil will bring old things. The devil will remind you of your mistakes and bring old people from the past to keep you where you are. Sometimes we fall for it and then we get right back into it. But you have to understand that when old things come back up, they're to keep you in the darkness and they're to keep you away from what's really meant for you, which is love and holiness and feeling whole. You guys, feeling whole. So let's dive into the questions. What do you think self love versus self care looks like? So I feel like self love is definitely the choices that you make that are going to lead to happiness for yourself. It is making decisions that are good for you. Anything that's not that is not self love. And then self care is the actions part of it, taking care of your body, watching what you eat. I am not no fitness girl, okay? I'm like, if you know me, like I barely drink water and I eat hot Cheetos. I love hot Cheetos. I love spicy foods. I love sugar. But I try my best to go to the gym for my mental health being. Like, I don't want to say that you have to care about your appearance, but in a way, doing things that are going to make you feel good on the outside or inside, both at the same time. That can look like journaling, that can look like hanging out around people that make you feel good inside, maybe taking a bath. Like, all the nice little things, reading a book, having your hobbies that really fulfill you. How you found specific hobbies, self care tasks that cater to you and being your joy. I feel like a lot of the times we are inspired or follow what other people do because it's a trend and everyone does it. So I'm more so curious of your advice and thoughts on maybe ways you found self love, hobbies, etc., that works for you and makes you feel content with yourself. I feel like social media does put a lot of pressure to make us feel like we want to do what other people are doing, but we might not actually fit into that. For example, running, a lot of people are getting into that. Like I got into that, I feel like before it became a trend, not like, oh my God, I did it before everyone else. But like the past 6 months, everyone's running now. It's a thing, it's a trend. But I feel like some people genuinely don't care to run. I feel like that's a good example of not getting confused or falling into trends. And I think this person is asking if how do you discover what's actually true to you and how you find those hobbies that you genuinely enjoy. And I have the perfect answer because I remember when I started this journey, I don't have any hobbies. I don't know what I enjoy. I don't know any of that. So how do I do that? And I remember my therapist was like, "So how do you mature, Sophia?" And I was like, I don't know. By like I had like a silly answer. And she was like, "Yes, true, but through life experiences, through traveling, you the more you see, the more you experience is the more mature you get because you're just learning through all the experiences that are coming into your life. You grow and you learn. I think the same thing applies to this question. The only way we're going to discover what's true to us is by trying it out. So I was in a season where I was doing a bunch of things. One of the things that I tried doing that I just didn't enjoy was reading like nonfiction books. I just like didn't vibe with it. I'm like more of like a fiction self-improvement kind of girly. That was one of the things I tried out, but I was like, no, like this actually isn't for me. And then I tried out running and that worked out for me. Golfing. And I actually kind of enjoyed that, but I wasn't fully in love with it. You just have to like get out there and put yourself in certain situations and see how you react to it. I would treat it as like a little experiment. Like, okay, I'm going to put myself in this situation. I'm going to do this activity and I want to see how I feel about it. If I actually truly enjoy the experience. And when you do that, then you can really see like, okay, I could do this again. I could try this again and be honest with yourself. It's going to be okay if it's not fun to you. If 10 other people find it fun or four other of your friends find it fun, that's okay. But it is trial and error. It's genuinely, it's kind of like dating, but like hobbies. Date your hobbies and try them one to two. And I remember, oh my God, I remember now. I wanted to be a puzzle ass girl so bad, you guys. I was like, I want to do puzzles. And I tried to do puzzles and it just wasn't for me. I was like, no, mm-mm, I'm not a puzzle girl. And that's okay. If doing puzzles is not my hobby, that is okay. I hope that's good advice because that's what worked for me. And I hope that that works for you. That is the end of the episode, you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you guys always for supporting Styles After Dark. I love you guys. I love my little stylers so much. Remember, videos come out every other Wednesday. And don't forget to follow my social medias. Give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment if you enjoyed this episode. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Remember, be kind to yourselves, be kind to other people, and live your life. Amen. Mwah. Bye.